Hey guys, so it's been a couple weeks since I made a video, and the last few videos that I've made, I've been talking about how more and more and more I'm coming to see life as quite literally being a game, like a virtual reality video game. A lot of people out there talk about how it's a simulation, we're in the Matrix and all of that, and I'm swiftly through experience, not exploring this with my intellect, just through like day-to-day experience where I experienced something that feels very similar to something that I experienced while playing World of Warcraft over the last 20 years. More and more I'm just saying this has to be a simulation. That has to be what this is. You know, we know that this is a hologram. I couldn't possibly begin to describe the science behind that to you, but you know, that's everything is pointing to that. So things are not as they seem here. Things are not as we have believed them to be as humans for millennia. It's something else for sure. And as I go through my day, I keep feeling like this is a game. This is a game, or it's a virtual experience that we chose to have. From where? What are we? I don't know. Nobody does. But so along that vein, I wanted to share the process from the book Busting Loose from the Money Game, which I think I'm going to go ahead and recommend for people to read now, finally. Last summer I read it, and honestly, part of the reason that I didn't want to recommend it is because some of it's kind of cheesy. I don't know exactly why. There's something ego about me that didn't want to admit that I found this book really, really kind of compelling. But I did. And honestly, the process that this guy lays out in the book, it was so monumentally helpful to me. I was doing it nearly constantly for like 2 months before I kind of just, I don't know, lost the need to do it. My life improved, like my experience of negative things was blunted enough in general that I just didn't feel the need to really do it anymore. And I would say that continues to this day. It's like I was experiencing negative things in my life in a too real kind of way. It just was like and this process snapped me out of that almost permanently. And now even when things that seem really bad or scary or whatever are happening to me, around me, in the world, whatever, I don't get the same sensation of fear about it or whatever that I used to get. It just feels like something happening on the movie screen most of the time. And luckily, often when I lapse back into experiencing something here as though it's too real, I'll snap out of it pretty quickly. Anyway, but okay, so I want to read you the process, and you can pretty easily memorize this. By the way, you should just buy the book. You know, if this sounds interesting to you or you use it and it gives you any benefit, I don't know why this is, but I really feel that I really have seen in my life, for me, it works this way, that returning value for receiving value seems to be a really important thing to do. I don't know, it just keeps the good stuff coming. That's my policy in general. Even if somebody is giving stuff away for free and asking for nothing in return, if I get something really valuable from them, even if they didn't mean to, if they were the thing that was there that I saw at the right moment, if, you know, the student was ready and the teacher appeared, even though they didn't appear on purpose for that purpose, I still try to, you know, remunerate them or something. I try to do something. I just feel, you know, I don't know, my experience has been that sort of cycle or whatever perpetuates itself, you know? So if I get value from something, I try to, like, if I read an excerpt from a book online and it does something for me and I have no intention of reading the whole book, I'll still buy the book so that the author gets something. So that, you know, I'm sort of keeping the process alive that I have deemed to be necessary. Okay, that was way too much explanation. So anyway, here's the process, and you use this whenever something is happening that's upsetting you beyond a certain degree, which I will talk about that in a minute. Okay, so the first thing that you say to yourself, you stop and you remind yourself, I am God creating this, or I am the universe, or whatever it is that you feel is creating this whole experience that you're a part of. Stop experiencing it in the right now, in this, very like earthly, mundane way, where you feel kind of hopeless or fearful or whatever, all those base human emotions. Stop. Remind yourself, I am creating this. Step 2, it's not real. I am God creating this. I am the universe creating this. It's not real. Do this slowly. 3, it's completely made up. 4, it's a creation of my consciousness. If you stop anytime you're experiencing something really unpleasant for yourself, especially, so many people spend like half the day in these mental spaces that are really uncomfortable. I am the universe creating this. It's not real. It's completely made up. This is all a projection of my mind. It's a creation of my consciousness. You stop and just kind of like, already just saying this, I like just sort of like had a sigh of relief. It should feel, if you're actually absorbing the meaning of those words and you believe them to be true, that will bring an instant sense of relief. Then the next step, I reclaim my power from this creation now. So the idea is that you're empowering ideas, you're empowering some negative experience, and you're feeding your energy into it. You're experiencing emotion over it. So the idea is to stop that. I reclaim my power from this creation now. As I reclaim the power, I feel it coming back to me. So for me, I would do this with my eyes closed, and I would imagine this idea. So let's say, for me personally, it was like, I'm getting older, I'm aging, my looks are fading, and I'm going to become worthless, or I'm, something like that. Like these ideas that I used to have about myself that were really, really tormented me and torment a lot of people, which I don't at all suffer from that anymore. Thanks to this, honestly, and just kind of, I don't know, things have kind of shifted for me naturally in that area. So I've actually found, surprisingly, especially based on how big a deal that used to be for me, I've found it really surprising to kind of like the way that I look, including like all the stuff about me that's starting to age. Like I have a line here that never goes away now. And I used to get filler under my eyes. I haven't done that in 3 years. And so like I'm getting some, and I'm just starting to look in the mirror and see, somebody who is 45, and there's nothing wrong with that. Whereas before, I'd see a little line in the mirror or whatever. I'd see something in like the rear view of my car, and I would just get that awful like flash of, bad. And this is what I did for like 2 straight months. This is just something that I've empowered in order to make this game interesting. This is something that I've, decided was going to be a part of this game. And I'm empowering it, and I'm taking my power back from it now. So go through this process. This is all a projection of my imagination. Nothing about this is real. Nothing about this has meaning in the way that I'm giving it meaning. And I'm experiencing these negative emotions because of it. So I'm going to stop, recall that by going through this very simple process. And then I am going to take my energy back from it. It's like every time I would have a negative thought about myself in that regard, it's like positive energy was leaving me. And it was replaced by this gulf of negativity. And I would think of it as, I'm feeding all my positive energy into this idea that there's something wrong. and I'm going to take all of that energy back. And I imagined it coming back. I imagined the negative thing as sort of like a black cloud outside myself that was just sucking energy from me. And what did I say? I reclaim my power from this creation now. As I reclaim the power, I feel it coming back to me. And I would imagine, in my mind, I would see this energy, you know, myself, like my solar plexus, sucking the energy back from this idea that in my mind had kind of had a picture attached to it. A dark cloud or just sort of a big blob. And sucking this power back, I would do this with my eyes closed and kind of imagine it coming back in. And as I did that, I could feel it. This process worked for me in a way that was really almost tangible. You know, I could feel it coming back. I could feel that like feeling in this area that was very negative and hollow and bad. I could feel that being filled with something that felt better. And then afterwards, you know, I was back to equilibrium. I was back to baseline or whatever, you know, whatever that is for me. And I had to do this a lot for these things that would come up. But I honestly, thinking about it now, because man, things have changed so much in the last 4 years since I started this channel. I had really gotten the material stuff down when I had started this channel. And I had some important mental shifts about myself that had changed everything, which made me really, really understand the Neville Goddard self-concept stuff and made me want to talk about it. But, you know, it wasn't a finished product yet. It probably never will be. But I really still had this stuff to work out. All this stuff about basically just my life experience constantly being interrupted by these negative thoughts, feelings, and ideas about me, my physical self in the world. And that has changed so dramatically. It's just crazy. My intention to be free of all this stuff, it's like 95% of the way there. It's crazy. Like my day-to-day is no longer plagued by all these feelings about myself and feelings about the future and regrets about the past having to do with that issue and other things that I attributed to it. It wasn't all entirely due to this process from this book that I never would have expected to be so life-changing, but that was a big turning point. There was a lot leading up to it, a lot of experiences that I had to have and just sort of get to the other side of, and you know, bang my head against the wall trying to do things the old way and having it not work. I had to sit through a lot of that. There was a lot of just experiencing certain things. But then this was really the work. This was like the thing that actually changed it mentally. This is like going to the gym and getting on the elliptical for 30 minutes a day for 6 months. That's what this process was. And just like going on the elliptical and getting, you know, you feel so good after you do like some cardio work. It was the same thing with this. This is something that produces relief and an uplifting feeling for me anyway. And I'm guessing many people who would do this would feel the same way. It's interrupting this pattern of thought. And doing that repeatedly, being consistent about it, remembering to do it, and then not being too lazy to do it, you know, like anything else, you have to actually do it. You can't just think about it or understand the concept. You have to actually apply it when it matters and enough times that it changes. But that being said, this is the other side of this coin that I've recently also I had a weird experience in the grocery store. How do I talk about this without going too far into what I've been personally into lately? Because I don't want to talk about that at all. So after, did I mention that the author of this book was Robert Scheinfeld? He has another book that he wrote after that is very similarly, like, very simple to the point that I'm almost like, ooh, I don't want to talk about this, because then it seems like the stuff that was really, really simple is the stuff that really got me, not the super intellectual stuff. It was this really easy process that, anyway, whatever. I am what I am. He wrote a book after this, after Busting Loose from the Money Game. I can't remember. I know it's not called The Ultimate Solution. It's something like that. And the gist of that book, which, you know, you should also buy if you get something from this. Give this guy his dues. He's definitely trying to sell stuff in these books, that's for sure. Sorry. In his book that came after this, he talks about sort of what's beyond this, which is figuring out that you're in a game and that all of the negativity and all of the other stuff that's happening is just a part of it, and it's a part that's essential, and that, you know, it's like watching an action movie. It would be so boring if there wasn't a bunch of you know, obstacles and bad things happening that looked scary, that created tension, and you know, created this whole experience that was a roller coaster that you enjoy, you know. And that, you know, we've all heard this. These aren't new concepts. Nothing is new. It's like every one of these concepts is an onion with multiple layers. And just because you understand it on one level doesn't necessarily mean you're fully understanding or experiencing it on all these other levels. I find that the things that I'm experiencing or understanding more deeply are things that I've understood for a long time. Like, we could say everything in life is here to be experienced, and you can't know the good without the bad, and everybody can kind of understand that concept. But if that means to you, oh, I just have to suffer through all of this bad stuff in order to understand the good stuff, or the bad part of life is suffering through all this bad stuff and the good part is experiencing all the good stuff, that's one way of understanding it. You know, there's another way of understanding it, which is that you're actually meant to enjoy the things that you suffer through, or you're you know, it's all here to be observed and enjoyed. I was in the grocery store, so I was going to say this. I was in the grocery store for reasons I don't want to go into, and I was going through my head, thinking about all the stuff I needed to buy for something, and I had this thought, like, God, is this strife ever going to end? Like, that just kind of, I was like, man, here I am in like another tense situation. Does this ever end? And this booming voice in my head said, stop trying to be happy. And I understood it. I realized, like, I'm in this tense moment right now. I'm supposed to be observing this tense moment as though it's on a movie screen, and everything else. This tense moment is something to be enjoyed. It's part of the whole thing that I'm here to enjoy. You know, like when you're watching a movie, you don't want the tense part to not be there, or you can't, you know, it's not the same if you don't have the tense part. So that's a little beyond the scope of this video, I guess. But I think that's where you eventually end up, is understanding that, you know, once you get through all these moments where you go through this process, I am God creating this. It's not real. It's completely made up. It's completely a projection of my mind. It's a creation of my consciousness. You know, I'm empowering it, and I'm going to take back my power from it now. And, you know, I'm going to feel that coming back to me and basically raise the vibe. I mean, that's basically what it's saying. And that's basically what I experienced. It makes you feel higher up. You feel lighter. You go through this experience enough time, it knocks off enough of the rough edges of life. The next thing I experienced anyway, was naturally kind of having a booming voice in my head yell at me that chasing happiness is not the point of being here. Trying to minimize these tense moments or these themes that are running through life that we consider to be negative, that's not the point. When you're chasing happiness, you're missing all the thrills of the negative stuff. And honestly, I think I've been more willing than most people I've known, but to be fair, I'm not really a big people person, so there could be a lot of people out there, but I think I've been more willing in my life to burst the bubble of myself as some great person or something like that. I don't know how to put it. Like, I've been more willing to admit to myself things about myself that other people might not be willing to, if that makes sense. I've been willing to admit that, oh, I enjoyed that drama, or you know what I mean? Like, whatever. I hopefully that makes sense. I've been willing to admit to myself that I don't pretend to not enjoy something just because maybe other people might think I shouldn't or something like that, or think it's makes you a bad person or something like that. I don't know. I've been willing to just say, okay, I enjoyed that thing probably a little more than I should have, or I enjoyed watching that person's misfortune or something like that, and I think that's actually benefiting me a lot, having come to this stop trying to be happy realization, because it's made me realize how much I do enjoy certain aspects of this thing that I've created that aren't necessarily, I don't know, good. Like, I don't know. It's hard to talk about that because it's kind of embarrassing, honestly. But like, if there's a problem in my life, there are aspects to it that, I don't feel like I'm hating necessarily. And I don't think a lot of people are willing to admit that to themselves. And when you do admit that to yourself, it becomes a lot easier to understand how you're creating all of it, the good and the bad. A lot of people don't want to admit that they enjoy their misery, or that there are aspects to wallowing about the bad things in their life that they actually feel quite comfortable and okay with. And it gives them the opportunity to complain, and it gives them the opportunity to create a community around something, that is bad. I don't know. I hope any of that made any sense. It can be really hard to talk about stuff here, but sometimes I think hearing other people talk about this can be like a little bing, where you get tapped on the head and you realize that, oh, the situation in my life that I hate actually has a lot of things about it that I love. I love the drama of this. I love the roller coaster of this. I love that I'm able to hate a whole class of people because of this. I love that I get to be a part of this giant community of people who's suffering right along with me. If you can admit that stuff to yourself, I think that's the first step to being able to change it. Because sometimes you're really enjoying something that maybe it would be better for you to change, like being broke, like being in debt, like being a member of the class that feels that they've been shat upon, when actually you could exit that if you wanted to. But people really get a lot out of the misery. People really, and you know what? There's not necessarily anything wrong with that. That's the conclusion that I've, come to without meaning to. You're here to experience it. You're here to experience it however you want. And experiencing these highs and lows are a part of it for most people that make it worthwhile, as hard as that is to accept, since we don't feel like we should be doing that. Anyway, 25 minutes. I hope that this helped somebody. I hope that you got something out of this. Once again, let's just go through the process here. When you're feeling discomfort that you want to stop, you pause, you stop completely, stop the thoughts, and you step outside of it mentally. Imagine yourself stepping back from this screen that you see in front of you. Just imagine yourself stepping back from it. Close your eyes. I'm creating this. If you want to say you're God, if you want to say you're the universe, whatever it is you think you are, maybe you don't need to say anything. Maybe you just say, I am creating this. It's not real. This is all a projection of my consciousness. This is all being created by my imagination. It's completely made up. And then imagine the problem. If you can't see it, that's okay. Just whatever the idea is that's causing you pain, whatever the larger idea is, survival, security, worthiness. I'm taking back my energy from this now, from this concept that I've been empowering with my thoughts and feelings. Taking back my energy from this now. And then imagine a bolt of lightning-like energy just being sucked out of this idea and back into your body, your realm, whatever you're occupying. And feel that. Generate a feeling of the energy returning to you and being sucked away from this idea. Imagine this idea shriveling up like a raisin. And do that over and over and over again. And see if it works for you. I couldn't believe how much this did for me. Just that simple running through those steps. Anytime I would find myself just really kind of like fretting about something or feeling really low about some aspect of the big issue for me, which was, I'm not worthy physically. I'm going to be worthless as a woman in this society, and just like all this bullshit. It really worked for me. So anyway, I hope that helps somebody. I hope this video made sense. I don't think I'm going to watch this, because if I do, I'll probably decide not to post it. So I hope I didn't say anything weird in here or misspeak. Have a great day.